Welcome in, greetings collective. Welcome into another video. And in this video, we're going to talk about the spells. That not these spells, excuse me, but the spell, the one spell that is over humanity, and how to um dismantle it, and what's the necessary process. Um, and while studying that, while studying down this path, I found it very interesting. Um, and everything that the divine is telling me to talk about is backed up by this text. Um, so I'm very ecstatic to know that because you're doing. I know I'm listening to the divine whenever I need to, but it's always good to see that there is like evidence, descriptive evidence of what I talk about. It makes me feel so grounded and like better because it's like a weight taken off my chest where I know it's now I know for more of a fact, but more for a visual fact that but it doesn't matter anyway. Let's begin with this hypnotic spell. And this hypnotic spell is cast upon those true goddesses and gods, those with melanin ether, nine ether energy beings, called Kingu, and Kingu is the spell of sleep, or the spell of Leviathan, and Leviathan is six ether, that is spirit fire, that produces ghost, not light. This is enforced and this spell Kingu is enforced by religious propaganda and promotes scriptures as the Bible and Quran as sacred books. Quran, excuse me, and the Quran as sacred books. Religion is a spell because it keeps you thinking someone is going to save you whenever it's really going to be you. That's the whole thing because it's not religion. It's not that these deities are going to come down and like, oh, let me do everything in your life for you. No, it's an equal give and take, and religion sells that like, yeah, if you just do all these things, then he's gonna come save you. But it's like you have to save yourself. And they say you have to wait till death to receive the gold, the blessings to live in heaven. You have to wait till after death when you can do that now. And the spell of Kingu follows the rule of three, being pushed by religion, media, and schools. And the rule of three, um like here, let me scroll up in here and let me get you an actual example. It's like the reading, writing, and arithmetic, the three R's, the Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the Bible, based on one God, to the devil and humanity. Well, I mean, not one God, but based on God, devil, and humanity. And then like your lifestyle concepts and things of in that matter, where you get money, you do all these things. Um, and a um, I need to I'll remember this. But anyway, the one who cast this spell, his name is Zu. Okay, Zu is the father of Halal, Anakashite. It's a reptilian from the planet Titan, which is Saturn, which technically isn't a planet. Saturn is not a planet. Let's, if you know, you know. We'll dig into it soon. We're taking it step by step here. Zu cast this spell for Enki, who is the master of key of planet Earth. Enlil, Enki's brother, had seven tablets in his possession called the Scrolls of All. Zu befriended Enlil and became his gatekeeper, the protector for the sole purpose of reading the tablets of destiny, the Scroll of All, or the Akashic records. Now that stood out to me. So you're telling me that Zu, this person that casted this spell, seen and read the entire Akashic records. So we have Zu, um, and Enki together, who casted this spell after reading all seven scrolls, the scrolls of all, the Akasha records, the entire library of humanity. And Zu and Enki cast a spell on the descendants of Enlil out of jealousy, in the same way of like Cain killing Abel and the story of Jacob and Esau, but as a spell that could be used to control the pre-created, excuse me, the procreated beings that would work for the Elohim Anunnaki, the beings sent from heaven to Key in the gold mines of South Africa. Um, so this whole thing was to get the descendants from um, Enil to be under this curse, and the descendants of Enil were going to be the ones that were sent down from the Anunnaki. It's the Anunnaki offsprings that were sent with this curse. And they cast a spell by reversing what was good and bad, as well as created the Bible, the fabrication of the Babylonian text from the Enuma Elish, excuse me, and the Gilgamesh epics. And you can see the reversal of bad and good even throughout now, like today's time. You can see like, oh, you can't do that, that's good and bad, and you see we're taught backwards. Everything's taught backwards. It's a reversal spell because you hear all these things like opposite day, and we take that as like a joke or whatever, but that's really the spell. Is we're in this mirror realm, really, of everything is backwards. This isn't how it's supposed to be, but it is, and it's because we think that this is normal even though we know that it's not. It's a constant suffering. Everyone's suffering. There's not a single, like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean there are, but you know what I mean? Like the majority, I don't know what the percentage wise would be. I'm hearing up to like 80 or 90% percentile dissatisfied. You know what I mean? So there is a change happening, a very strong, huge change, a divine awakening because it's time. But there's a lot of dissatisfied people in the world, and it's because what they think is what they want to do is bad when it's good. Like taking care of yourself and being one with self and just doing what makes you happy. People think that you can't do that due to religions and certain people and all these like more, not even morals, but like social fucking rules and whatever the hell. Like, oh, you can't do all this because it's not appropriate to do these things. Like, what do you mean it's not appropriate to dress how you want to dress? Or you know what I mean? Like it's these things where we make these opinions of things that weren't of an issue at first. Um, and it's just because of this spell that's on. Everyone thinks that doing one thing is wrong when it's really just natural. But at first, Zoo was gonna help was gonna help do the spell on Anil with the neck with Enki. But he wanted to find out his destiny. He truly wanted Enlilship, control over the Lil, which is the skies. He wanted control over the skies. He did it for a selfish reason. The spell is also in the atmosphere itself because Leviathan, which breaks down Levi to law and Athen to sin, emanates it. It is the ghost spell, the gospel of spiritual ignorance and radical blindness, which religion very much promotes, is don't do anything that feels good and do what I tell you and don't question me because I read the Bible and I'm the priest and yada yada yada. These priests and don't even read the fucking Bible. They don't even understand the Bible. They read the words, but they don't even know what's coming out, what they're really saying, you know? Um, but the only way that this curse can be broken is by right knowledge, right wisdom, and right overstanding, and working with nature and its atmosphere. Right knowledge, wisdom, and overstanding produce right thinking. Right thinking causes us to follow the right way to liberty and equality through right words and right works. Right knowledge is truth. The words you use matter. The thoughts you think matter. What you think you understand, you need to overstand. What you know, you must know. Um, we are spellbound always, um, because of the oppressors, the people who are being oppressed by this spell, oppressing others with negativity, um, and they're being sent by the Leviathan. So the Leviathan itself is really it's the entity attachment that's going out and seeking all these things. So be aware of this. And we're going to jump into the archons here soon because this ties in with it. But this force is called Ra'ah in Genesis 3:22. The man has now become like us, like one of us, knowing good and evil. That's what that means. by being spellbound by the Leviathan, by by reversing what's good and bad, by seeing something as good as bad, it now reverses things because now something good has to be bad. So everything good has to be bad now because it just can't be one way. But that way of thinking is of those who are oppressed, you know? The way of thinking is the way of being oppressed is by thinking things are good or bad, by not seeing that things that you are controlling how things are and nothing really is good or bad because it matters to you. And at that point, why would something bad be coming to you? Nothing should bad should be coming to you. It should always be a blessing for anything to come to you, you know? And that the oppressed don't think like that. The oppressed think by like, oh no, this shouldn't happen. This was ass. Like I hate these things. Like they're oppressed by that energy, by that spell. And the only way to destroying these forces is by destroying the negativism or the ignorance that they live and strive on. Now this jumps into archons. And the two types of archons are the reptilian archons. Let me pull up my other notes here because I have them in my other notes. And we'll get the name for you. The archons that are reptilians are called Remusayan, Scion. And this is the same reptiles that are talked about in the Garden of Eden. But these are reptilians. They can interact with the third dimension, but not be on it. So what they do is they turn invisible. Some of them go underground, but they latch on to people. They get inside these people and they go into the brain, and that little like reptilian part of the brain, what people like the doctors and people call it, like that's where they stick in. They go and they get in the back of the eye and they sit there and they stick in and they sit there and they look out your visuals and they control you from there. So they find a host to result in control. They're good at energy cloaking, and these are the people doing a lot of the blood rituals. Um, these archons are also disturbed by bells. That's why we don't have any bells. That's like, the reptilians are fucking up here and doing shit. They don't want bells being around. The bells scare them because bells are purity. Bells are holy. Bells are healing frequencies. They can't handle it. And the gray archons create turmoil, fight wars, but they also eat negative energy. And the gray archons are what really thrive off of this negative energy. They create loopholes. When you start having a bad thought during like depression or the dark night of the soul, when you feel stuck in that energy, that's those archons leeching onto you. Those grays, they're the gray archons. Okay, they look just like the grays, but they're archons, and they literally will drain you of everything because they feed off of it. And when they feed off of it, they get more power to be able to strike these forces on you. These beings thrive off of the suffering of people, which is why you really have to work on being this light, um and really being the light and not just halfway doing it. You really have to get into it. So here we're gonna jump into this. And when I was looking through it, I was I was trying to stay away from saying negative, but I couldn't step away from it. But this was very interesting to look at, and we're going to talk about it. Okay, and it's called Negro mentality. Negro mentality is a negative mentality or a slave mentality that is one that knows and someone who has this mentality is one that knows no more or little than the Canaanites, the albino seed, had written for public reading or spoken for public hearing. Now despite how free thinking you are, this doesn't matter. If you do not know more than an albino seed than a Canaanites, then you are in this energy. If you only know of the Bible and nothing else, and you only know of that one way of being, the only one God way of teaching, and that's the only teaching you know, but then you still do your ancestors and stuff, but you're not focusing on other gods because you're afraid of the Christian God hurting you. You're in this negative slave Negro mentality where you need to step out of it. Um, now, um, yeah, but not having your own mind and going to man to translate word made by man for man, which is Jacob's teachings to his creation, also like Genesis, the Revelations, things of that nature. Remember, facts can be rejected, but they cannot be disproved. And this is what I mean by planting seeds. Even though you might not agree with the truth, if I speak it, it is a seed that is planted in you. And even if you disagree with it and hate it, Your soul knows it's a truth and it will resonate with it until the day it reincarnates again, and then it will resonate with it some more. You know what I mean? It is how it is done. I tell you nothing but what I know and what I get. But a real teacher who knows real knowledge would educate about universal powers and forces so that one may rule their self. This is a major way to see if a teacher is really a teacher or if they're fake. If you got someone that claims that they're a teacher and they're not teaching you how to better yourself in any way, shape, or form, whatever they're trying to teach you on, if they can't teach you, then they're a false teacher. They have not done that work. They don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And and just seeing and this is the beautiful part because like just when I was reading this, I was always like seeing the divine work and say the same things. It's like it's weird, and I'm not trying to like say anything about that. I'm just really seeing it like that really put this divine like pat on my back. Like there was a reason why I had to switch up the schedule, and I can see that now. Um, but anyway, education alone will not save us. We also need to be occupational. We also need occupational, professional, and technical knowledge, and even then we need more. So for this, Negro or negative mentality, you need knowledge about time of the universe, the stars, the planets, satellites, origins of oceans, mountains, vegetation, time and origin of races, cultures, and what each race is supposed to represent. Negro mentality is void of its own true spiritual science, and the powers which maintain a race's spiritual science. Excuse me. Negro mentality is void of its own true spiritual science, and the powers which maintain a race's spiritual science are those that create a race's culture, history, and direction of way of its life. In the case of nine ether beings, Nuwabu is the true spiritual and universal science. If you got melanin in your system and you are ether nine, okay, that means you got the ether nine, okay. You carbon, you melanin. You don't have fur like they like to say you have. That's six ether, nine ether. We got hair. We got antennas. Okay. Do your research. A Nuwabu. All right. Learn its way of life. Learn its language. Awaken your tongue. Embody the language. This is our history that we need out. And this is how we break the curse. And this is the whole issue why people, oh, it's like it's just race issues. It's bigger than that. It's always been bigger than that. And that's something a lot of people didn't understand. That's something that Malcolm X understood. Martin Luther King understood, but he was a plant. He understood too late. By the time he was even trying to say anything, he barely even could because he knew, kind of what was going on. And Malcolm X knew for a damn fact about this curse and was talking about it. It's been more about it. It's about bringing the reality back to what it's supposed to fucking be and not this weird illusional curse bullshit. And when we get down and realize it and we see it from this angle of it's not race, it's a spiritual thing. It's bigger than the pigment of the skin. That's what we're trying to come together for. But the thing is the power is flipped. It's the opposite way right now, and which is kind of weird, which is what we're, fixing. It's what we're working for. That's why anyone who speaks on this stuff, like they get silenced because it's the truth. And we're gonna get this fucking truth out because we're gonna fix this place. They know the time's running out. They can't do anything about it. They're just gonna have to sit there and let us. Because at the end of the day, you can't stop what the divine's gonna have. And they know this. So that's why we don't back down. That's why we keep going forward. That's why we're not scared of these people because at the end of the day, they know that in spiritual law, they cannot do anything. Because let's be real, if they really didn't like it, they could just, pop some people off the planet, but they can't do that. Because if they start popping people and bodies start dropping, then people are really going to start questioning stuff. They gotta play this. They played this weird game where they fuck themselves no matter what. The divine's always gonna win. We're gonna get it. But when a Canaanite meet someone that does not believe in their God, that is Ghost, Cain and Abel, and Ghost was became real because of Cain and Abel. Whenever Cain killed Abel, there was that disembodied voice, the ghost, that happened. Cain created Ghost, which then Jacob made the Canaanites praise as God. But he calls that person an atheist. And there are two uh yeah, yeah, that's about the right. Sorry. Yeah, there's an atheist and there's two spirits. There's a ghost and there's ether. If one is not of God, which is ghost, then they are made of ether. Atheists and etherists have the same original or etymological meaning. And you need to look up the etymology of words, like seriously. But the etymological meaning of etherist or atheist is not God or not of God. If one was created by ether instead of ghost, that person by nature is not God and not of God. So you are not of ghost or not ghost. You are soul. You don't die. You were sent here. We're not from here. This is not our planet. That's why in the Bible it says this is not where you are. And when you get down deeper in it, you realize that the the Bible wasn't written for the people that they think it is. The Bible is a story of backwards acts, of removing history, of copying text. The Bible is honestly it's about Black history. It's the history of the blacks being erased in front of a lot of people's eyes that people praise. Um, and we're going to talk about this real quick right here. But since the slave master is an enemy of the slave, if the slave prays to the same God as the master, he is praying to the God that enabled the slave master to enslave the captive, and that God is the enemy of the slave or a captive, just as the slave master indoctrinated. The one God doctrine that the slave master indoctrinated the slave with is false. And a part of the spell that NK and Zu did 6,000 years ago condensed all the gods into one God with a capital G. Okay. And this God stands for Gomer, Oz, and Dauber, which is Jehovah or Yahuwah, Baal, Jah, which is Jehovah, Yahshua, Baal, which is Baal or Baal, the demon, and Om, which is Jabalum, another word based on the three deities that is used for God in the Masons. There are many gods, but only one God is supreme. Um, Eliwin El, the Most High, um, also known as Anun, Anu, Um, and that being is an infinite omnipotent who has innumerable powers and parts. The one supreme being is in every Nubiara, uh, so that Nubria, oh my God, person called Elohim. In every place, heaven and everything, nature, finite and infinite, visible body and invisible cells, which is all within the all. And I need to work on my pronunciation of words, of course, and I always am, but speech impediments gonna get me so far, right? Um, but being aware of that as well. And we're going to talk about the moon cycles as well, because the moon cycles were interesting when I found about that. But there are four cycles. There's the two cycles, the two moon cycles, and the two sun cycles, right? Which each consist of 6,000 years. The second moon cycle, which lasted 6,000 years, has ended, and just before the end of each ruling cycle of nature, a male person is authorized and appointed by the forces of nature to determine and disclose to the people, especially those of his kind, the hidden past, the changing present, and the ruling future. The moon cycle was the climax and the final phase of the evolutionary cycle, which lasted 17,250,000 years ago. Crazy. Um, so this is something interesting, okay? And this is about the Leviathan, and we need to be aware of this. The Leviathan is the sun god. Okay. Um, Hold on. Let me go look this up because in the notes I didn't type it right. I know I didn't. Let me look this back up. Leviathan. Okay, yeah. So Leviathan is the sun god, earth god, and moon god for mankind. The Canite, all straight-haired peoples. Leviathan can manifest itself as the sun god or their father at one time, the earth god or their son Jesus at another time, and the moon god, their mother of God Mary at still another time. Or it can manifest itself as a combination of two or all three at the same time, calling itself the Trinity. The group called Adam 6,000 years ago was an incarnation of the earth god known as Jehovah Dagon, who is the Mesopotamian god of vegetation, who is half man, half fish, who's also known as Jesus, Zeus, Lord, Baal, etc. This Adam is really Canaan, the Canaan from Genesis 9:25, which is, and he said, "Cursed be Canaan, the servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren." But Canaan is the Canite Adam, and that's why they always say that Adam was created only 4,000 years ago. They are really talking about the birth of Canaan. Leviathan is also God at one time and the devil at the other, or both at the same time. This means the Leviathan is very powerful and deceptive. In fact, the Leviathan and the forces of trickery, deception, uh, aner, my gosh, I can't even say the word, hypocrisy, the Leviathan spirit forces of their Bible. So the Bible, the fact that it's the hypocrisy, I can't even say the word, I'm sorry. The hypocrisy, that's crazy. I love it. No, but the Leviathan, the fact that the God that they talk in the Bible, how it's back and forth, how it's good to do this and bad to do that, and you're bad if you do these things, but then yet those people are sinning and all these things, and it's like it it, it the back and forth, the conundrum of it, it's the Leviathan. It's supposed to confuse you. It keeps you in this turmoilic state where you think that doing nothing is all you need to do when really you need to live this life and enjoy and spread your light. Spreading your light doesn't mean sitting in your room. It means going outside and spreading your light, being true to who you are. Truly, 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 when you free yourself from this curse, everything will be so much better. And every I'm working on it too. We're all working on it, but we're breaking it. And I've already broke it for this. We're working on it every day for bigger and better things. Always. We just really need to step into it and do it. And don't push back or hold back. But that is this one. This is the spell. That's the spell. That's how you break it. That's how it was invented. That's some basic information that you need. Um, and I don't know if the next one's gonna be about Jakob's mom and dad, and then after that, we're going to talk about other shit. We're gonna talk about some other stuff. But regardless, that is what I have for you right now. Um, I love each and every one of you so much. To the moon and back, tenfold and forever. Y'all know the drill. Go to the description if you want anything. I will see you all later. Thank you all so much. Please be safe and thank you so much for what an education. Um, please do your own work. Please do your own research, your own cross references. Do your own things. Really enlighten yourself on this journey. And please take care. Hydrate yourself. I love y'all. See you guys later.